Here's one of the latest interviews from Rock and Metal Revival. If you want to hear the whole show, go to rmrshow.com. From the CD Randy Rhoads Remembered, There Is No Bone Movies on Rock and Metal Revival. And Jerry, what a killer track.
That is just some slamming stuff right there, bro.
And you told me that our guest right now, Brian-Tichy, was the singer and the guitar player?
And the bass player on that.
Oh my, Brian, welcome to Rock and Metal Revival.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Fantastic. I just, when Jerry played that track for me, he goes, yeah, Brian sings and he plays guitar and he plays bass. And I said, well, isn't he a drummer? And he goes,
well, let me correct you a little bit on that.
Oh.
I played guitar and bass on that track. Ray Luzier from Korn, one of my amazing drummer, great friend for many years. He played drums on that, and Chaz West is the singer on that track. So yeah, Chaz sings in the Moby Dicks with us when we do the Bonzo Bash. He's singing Bonham and Lynch Mob and all this stuff, Three-Legged Dog and that. So Chaz killer singer. Yeah, so that's him on that, not me. I sang the only song I sang on the record is the original song called Winding Roads, just because I wrote it and figured we don't have much time. Let's just get this thing done. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brian, I mean, where did the concept for this whole Randy Rhoads Remembered CD and concert come from? Is it something that you've been thinking about for a while?
Yeah, it started a few years ago when we first did in 2010, the first Bonzo Bash show. Just my partner Joe Sutton and myself were just talking about ideas for the show, and somehow amongst hours of just getting into the show and prepping it and going back and forth on the phone about stuff, one of us just said, hey, if we ever did a show like this for a guitar player, man, it would have to be for Randy Rhoads. And I think if I said that, Joe agreed, and he was like, man, I grew up on Randy. I saw Randy in Memphis when I was a kid on the Blizzard of Oz tour. And I was like, man, I started really getting hardcore into guitar when Blizzard of Oz came out. So we just said it to each other. It was just more like an idea, like that would be cool. But we didn't act on it. That was back in 2010. So last year, 2013, when we were getting the Bonzo Bash together for the NAMM show, January which would be January of 2014, there's getting to be so many drummers. It was like, how many drummers can you fit in one show in one night? And I thought, let's try it. Let's just do 2 nights, man. It might make more sense. So the club the venue gave us 2 nights, and soon after that, for a multitude of different reasons, we were like, it's going to be too much. It might just be overkill for whatever it was. Let's just get as much as we can get into one night and make it a huge, insane night for Bonzo Bash. But then the next question was, well, I guess we just tell the club they can have that other night. And Joe and I were just like, well, or we could maybe try something different. And that's when we said, the light bulb goes off. Wait a second. Remember we talked about Randy Rhoads? Let's do it. Let's go. And so you're opening a can of worms there. You're like, well, what's it going to take? Where do you start and everything? So for me, coming off tour with Jeff Tate's Queensryche, doing a bunch of dates in the summer of 2013, Rudy Stars was in the band, and we had already been friends, but after playing together, it was a little bit easier to write to him and say, hey, Rudy, I have this idea, what do you think? And he was like, that's great, I'm in. And then you guys are still there, right?
Oh, yeah, we're still there, yeah.
Okay. Well, so anyways, that was it, and then we went to the Rhoads family, just reached out to them, and guitar player Brent Woods, he plays with Sebastian Bach, and he's a guitar player in the Moby Dicks, one of my good buddies. He studied with Randy as a kid, so he's tight with the family. So it was more like, we went, talked to Kelly Rhoads, and he was like, wow, it sounds cool. I've seen your, the Bonzo Bash thing you guys have done, so let's go for it. So I was like, okay, well, if Kelly Rhoads is saying he's into it, and Rudy's saying he's into it, and we have a venue, let's try it, man. Like, if you're going to go down the NAMM show, and I mean, to me, that's fun. Like, rather than, if you have an opportunity to put something together, I get great enjoyment out of it because, first of all, I'm really into, it's not just like, oh, somebody threw an artist at me that I don't even care about. It's like, it's Randy Rhoads, man. I grew up on this stuff. I don't have to, as far as the drums, I don't have to rehearse this stuff. It's in my head. Those records, Blizzard and Diary, and the bootlegs, the King Biscuit Flower Hour, and the tribute record. These are things that are etched in my mind, and starting with Randy, and the live band's killer, the studio band's killer. So on every level, it's nothing but fun for me. It ends up being a lot of work, just just balancing out who's in the show and getting all the technical stuff behind the scenes together. But the end result is a great celebration. Everybody there is there for the right reason, and you just look around and go, man, this guy affected us. Just like John Bonham, when we do the Bonzo Bash. So we just took that template and shifted it over into the world of Randy Rhoads.
So how did you decide who was gonna play some guitar and who was gonna be on the show and do the CD?
Well, there's some. We all have friends or people. You make a list of like, okay, well, here's my buddies that this guy, that guy, and then there's some guys I've either crossed paths with or I know are there's an obvious Randy tie in there, whether it's Brad Gillis or Gus G or Nuno or Bumblefoot. It's like all these guys played the first one, and some people write to you, Marty Friedman had heard about it and said he was interested. So it's things just start going around. Then then it's just about schedules. A lot of people are like, man, that sounds great, but I'm not at NAMM that weekend, or I'm already booked that night, or they say, oh, I'm psyched, I'm going to do it, and then a month later, like, man, I'm sorry, I got another, I got booked up, I can't, But it's always open with us. Everything's open. We know up to the day of the show, things can change. If you're in the show, you're pretty much playing one song. That's the whole thing with the NAMM shows. There's so many people around. Just play pick your favorite track and have some fun with a bunch of other people that are inspired by all this. So there's no great formula that makes it what it is. But it is a constant balance. You can't just assume, oh, here's my top list, I'm going to call them, they're going to play. You have to have, like, double, triple, quadruple lists because you don't know who's going to – somebody might say, I'm really into it, but let me know. I'll know my schedule in 2 weeks. Well, within those 2 weeks, other people are saying, I want to play. So you got some people on hold. You got some people – you know what I mean? It's a never-ending juggle, and you try and find a nice balance. And at the same time, I'd be a liar if I said, that we didn't care about the name value, because you have the clubs going, the venue going, hey, man, we're a club. We're in business here. We want to see some big names here because we want to sell this place. We want to sell tickets and sell, do what they do at a venue. If it was just a backyard barbecue party at my house, then it wouldn't matter. I just like whoever shows up first, you just get up and jam. Yeah. But there is a business to it all as well. So you always have to keep that in the back of your head. And so there's you just put a list together. I mean, here's some guys that would be awesome in the show. Here's some guys I know. Here's some guys that I could probably get in touch with. And then there's some guys that reach to me, and it just kind of creates itself, just like a Bonzo Bash. And to get into the like I said, you never know. It ends up it's always going to be different. Every time we think we know something, I guess it can maybe get frustrating because you're either putting press releases together or the club is asking you which names, who's in the show, and so this isn't the same as putting a package tour together with 3 bands. It's like, okay, this band confirmed, this band confirmed, this band confirmed. Okay, we got 3 bands and they're all on tour together. With this show, it's like you have 3 bands forming, the amount of 3 bands of players forming one show, and the guitar players, if we do a tour, they're only playing 2 or 3 songs. They're not playing 18 songs a night. So it's not the easiest thing to balance. But what we go with is some people just love it. Some people want to be a part of it because they just really have a great time doing it, and hopefully their schedule's open and they can afford to do it too. Like not passing up a lot of work or just having to drop other things just to come on the road and only play 3 songs a night. There is a spirit that goes on with these shows that that is intangible and that's got a value all its own.
So now, Brian, was there any guitarist that you really wanted involved in this project but just couldn't make it?
Well, yeah, it's probably the same names that anybody else would put at the top of this kind of list for this type of show. Is it would be awesome. I mean, for me to have Brad Gillis play was great. It was awesome because we didn't know each other that well, but if he was going to be around at NAMM and he could throw down, he and Rudy Starzo toured together when Randy passed. It's like, and I was the kid that was like, wow, they got this new guy Brad Gillis, and remember hearing a live, there's a live MTV concert, and there's a live radio concert, and we were all into Randy, and then when Brad came in, he did a killer job. I mean, he was another guitar guy that was up and coming and back in the day, and then so it was really cool to have him be a part of it, and the end result of that was that he and Sarzo had not played together since the last show on tour with Ozzy in '82.
Cool.
So it's like, so for them to come together, and that's why we played the live Suicide Solution version that they played in '82, which has the whole extended jam in the middle and all that. Like I that was my idea. I was like, that's the version, man. That's history there. That's stuff that I remember, tripping out on. Like, man, they created this whole song, this whole middle section for the show, for the live show only. This isn't a part of a song or anything. They took bits and pieces of Randy solos and incorporated it too. It was like really cool stuff. So that was just for me, it was an honor to play that with those guys. And but yeah, of course, like there was a chance this year Jakey Lee was going to play, but he had some back problems at the last minute. He couldn't make it. And of course, everybody we've had Gus G played. He's the current. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
From Gus back to Brad being a part of it. So, hey, Nuno, I'm a huge Nuno fan. He's awesome, but he came in and threw down. I was just so psyched when he chose to play Diary of a Madman, because I knew he would come in and just kill it on all levels, which he did. And so when people get in the show, they come in because they really want to be a part of it. It's not just like, oh man, I'll go do a jam. It's like, no, I really want to throw down in honor of this guy that inspired me a long time ago when he came out. I was learning the ropes of my instrument, and a teenager or whatever. This was Randy Rhoads, man. It means a lot to me. So you want you all get together in a room, and it just that's where the spirit comes out. And but I'm as far as any exact particular players, it's like, man, it would be awesome if anybody from Steve Lukather to DeMartini to Tom Morello to go down the list, man. Whoever it would be. It's if they're available and they want to, great. Let's make it happen. So the list is long of people that I'd love to see in the show.
So is there any chance of did they film this? Is there any chance of a DVD of this coming out?
No, it's pretty much you got to rely on the YouTube clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I in the past I had audio, Pro Tooled, recorded the Bonzo bashes and even videotaped them, but it's like or filmed them, but man, to get into that world, it's it's a whole other world. To get into like DVD stuff, it's like it's all got to do with the publishing and all those kind of rights and songwriting stuff. So it's really involved, and it's something I don't really have time for. If a company came in and said, we love this show, we want to take it over, we want to put it out as a DVD, and we'll do all the work that it is entailed in getting it together, that great, let's do it. But hasn't happened yet. So it's enough to just get that kind of show together on this level, and just get it where it is now without even thinking about video. We could, if we had a few cameras around, I guess we could film it and just put it out on YouTube or something. But it's a lot of work. You got to get some killer audio. I don't want to just put out junk. I don't want to. Oh well, we got it, so throw it out. I'd have to spend. And if there's no budget there for doing that, it's like, well, how much free time do you have to dedicate? Which leads me up to the CD that's out, Randy Rhoads Remembered. It's like that was me being really excited about the live show. That was just simply me saying, man, like, I love the rehearsals for these shows, for whether it's the Bonzo Bash, Randy Rhoads Remembered, the Ox and Loon show, which is the one we did for Keith Moon and John Entwistle. I love the rehearsals because there's no pressure, and it's just so much fun having everybody come in and just working up the songs. It's great. But after rehearsing all the Randy stuff and then doing the show, it was in my house I have a studio. I have drums set up all the time. I can record records here, and we can pretty much do it all here. So I was like, well, man, after watching everybody get their song together, do the show, I was like, wouldn't it be pretty cool if we put this on tape and had something, instead of, man, the one time on stage was the only time this guy did it. What if he did have the time to record a version, and we could put all these versions together. So it really did start as me just wanting everybody that played at the show to, or at least half of the guys, as much as we could fit. I don't know if it's like volume 1 means we could finish out the rest on volume 2 because putting it all together takes a lot of time. So everybody reacted favorably, and we got it, but it just didn't line up with everybody's schedules. It's just not everybody had schedules. It's like, so the simple side of me just sees A to B. I say, well, I have drums here, and I can record drums, and I can send people drum tracks, and they can play guitars over them, and I can send a bass player, that stuff, and they can play bass to it, or whatever order it is. It starts from me, and it can all go through me, and I just got real excited after the show and said, man, this seems easy, and I thought, man, we could have a really ass-kicking tribute CD to Randy based off of the show. Yeah. So that's really all it was, and it started moving along, and I had done a few tracks. I think like the first track we did was Tracy Guns and Phil Sasson doing Iron Man, Children of the Grave with Michael Devin singing, and that one, I had did a bunch of drum tracks and sent a few out, and that was the first one that kind of came back finished, and I was like, it sounded killer. It's on the record and stuff. It sounded great. And I got one more. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Bill X, came over and did Steal Away the Night, or Chico did Flying High Again, and Phil Sasson did some more bass, and we're putting it together. But then I got busy towards the summer and stuff, and then there was no, we didn't get like a record deal. There was no deal that happened, so there was no budget. So once there's nothing like that happening, it becomes a little more difficult. You got to pick and choose how much time you can put into something. Well, after this, I got busy in the summer into the fall. I came back home and hadn't done anything with the tracks in a bunch of months, and I sat in the studio one night and put on what I had, and I listened to it. I was like, man, this stuff is too good to just let sit here. And I got annoyed at myself for saying I wanted to do something, and it wasn't even halfway finished. So I was like, man, in respect to the guys that already came and played, or I sent tracks to and they played, I was like, I got to see this through. I don't even care how I get it done, but I'm going to get it done. And that was it. And I said, we got a Randy Rhoads show coming up. Randy Rhoads remembered at NAMM again. We have, January 23rd. I'm like, well, that's our date. Let's get this thing finished and have a bunch ready to be released then. So I just did it all myself. Everybody, and as did all the players involved. They just fit it in their schedules. There's no budget.
Yeah.
There was no budget to work with. It was just time. Do I have time to record some more drums? Do I have time to, either sit with this singer or this guitar player, or do they have time to record at their own studios and get it back to me? And it all worked out. And that's why, you have what you have, and I'm, I think it came out great. Hold on. Well, thanks. I think, in the art, we were scrambling to get the 3 shows at NAMM together and get the CD done. But, so there, on the artwork department, some things slipped by, like a couple typos and spelling things. But, after the first pressing, when we go to press more, we'll fix all that stuff. But outside of that, the bottom line was, the tracks, the goal was to get all the songs I said to get done. And on top of that, we got, the song Winding Roads, which is the one original song on the record, which was like kind of a last minute thought. I think it was literally December or somewhere in November. I was in Australia with this band, the Dead Daisies, and I was talking to my partner. I was like, man, once again, one of us said to the other, what about, an original song? And I had this little idea I was working on. I was like, okay, let's go with a title. Give me a title. Let's talk about a title. If I get a title, with the word Rhoads in it, using his name Rhoads to mean, but taking, literally meaning a road, let's get a title with that. And my partner, I think the first thing out of his mouth was, what about Winding Roads? And I'm like, wow, man, that's a nice big fat title right there. Let's tie in some lyrics and a chorus with that. And, that was it. So I just kind of worked on the song and wrote it, and got the drums and bass down and some basic rhythm guitars, and sent it to all the guys all the guys on the CD. There was 9 other guitar players, and they said, hey, just jam at the end of this, play over a verse and a pre-chorus, and just go crazy, and that's it. So it was really down to the wire. I don't think we got the last solo on the record, which might have been Phil Demmel's, until like January 9th or something. And so we were literally ready. Everything was mixed and mastered except for that one song, and then we had to get it manufactured. So it was all like totally last minute, but it worked out. I it worked out. So,
Hey, Brian, I remember back in about I think it was 1982 when I got to see Ozzy with Randy Rhoads here in Madison. And at the time, I didn't realize what I was actually seeing. I knew he was great, but I didn't realize how great he was. When you saw him for the first time, were you just totally taken in, blown away?
Oh, yeah. But wait, where did you see him at?
Madison, Wisconsin.
Awesome. On what tour?
I think it was the
must have been
Diary tour.
Yeah, so it was like an arena, it's a big old packed arena.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see Randy, but I did. My story was that I heard on the radio they were interviewing Ozzy and like, the singer from Black Sabbath is coming out with his own record, his own band and record, Blizzard of Oz, and they were talking to Ozzy, and I was just listening to it, and they go, okay, we're going to put on we're going to play the first track off the record, I Don't Know. It's called I Don't Know. And as soon as I heard the guitar slide in and that riff, and it just stopped me in my tracks, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was just like every second of the guitar was perfect. And then the solo came on, and it just floored me. And then they did another a little more interview with Ozzy, and then they went to Crazy Train, and that this is like before anybody knew Crazy. This was right when the record came out, so I immediately got it. I think as soon as it was available, I think this was all right when it was coming out. So, and I was also getting really into guitar. So Randy that record. Here's how heavy it was to me. I did not know what I was doing. Sorry, I'm turning my car on. I've got to get out of my house to pick the kids up at school. Okay. So I every song blew me away, and I didn't know what I was doing on guitar. I think I learned like a couple riffs and a blues scale. I had no idea really what I was doing on guitar, but I sat there with that album and just tried. I think I recorded it onto a cassette or something. I just tried so hard to learn Randy solos and rhythms. And looking back, it was I was putting more time into his stuff than most other stuff at the time. This is like 1980. So I wasn't. Yeah, that's how much it took these shows for me to look back and realize, wow, I was actually this was a real pivotal record for me because I really was getting into guitar then. It's just after Blizzard of Oz, I started getting into some of the other things, but this was the first record that tied into me trying to learn how to play guitar, for real. And so it was killer. And then after that, I remember they played on whatever radio station, King Biscuit Flower Hour, which you got to hear the live tour of Randy, Ozzy, Rudy Sarzo, Tommy Aldridge, and Don Airey, and that was another one. Now I get to hear Randy's take on his own studio recordings, which he would play off of himself, and some of the stuff was the same, and I loved it, man. It was like that was a whole, so we all did. Well, my buddies who were guitar players in the bands I was jamming, they'd all be like, show me licks they learned of Randy's, or this is how he does the intro of the Crowley solo, all that stuff. So, yeah, I was just, you read about Randy like, Randy, he's classically trained, and he knows he makes great use of the diminished scales and tritones and
harmonic minors, and
I'm just like, and then that's another reason I started getting into theory. I was like, what is this? What's a diminished scale? And then I learned that it's on a guitar, it's basically you can look at it like every 3 frets, just go every 3 frets. And there's certain Randy licks that are they have that sound to them, the diminished sound, and that's all straight from Randy Rhoads. That's where I learned about it, learned how to play it, and a lot of it's from his from his unaccompanied his spotlight solo in the live on the in the live shows and stuff, the bootleg stuff you could get. So yeah, it was all it just all goes back to when I was just learning how to play guitar.
Cool.
So he was like he was like right there at the forefront of it all for me.
Now, this CD isn't available on, like, iTunes or Amazon. Is the only place to get it the CaliforniaMusicFest.com?
Yeah, right now that's it. That was just our website. You can, order it from there. It goes to our little PayPal thing, and we do it all ourselves. So it's that simple. But right now I am talking with a label that's going to tie into getting it out digitally. So I'm hoping in the next, couple months we're going to have that going. So which would be great because it'll be a whole new, another, fresh batch of press about the record because now you'll be able to get it iTunes, Amazon, and with that will come some new publicity and we'll get some new press going all the way around for it. So it'll be cool. So yeah, I thought we just had to get it out. We had to get it out and let people know it's out. And in respect to the everybody that put time into the record as well as tying it into the NAMM show. So now that it's out and we can do whatever the hell we want with it, which is like put the show on tour, which we're going to be doing in I think the middle of May for about 5 weeks around the country. Take Randy Rhoads Remembered Rhoads across America, and we're putting that all together now. We have a nice lineup, but like I said, with the show, things change. We're still working on locking in all the dates and the routing and all that junk. But
cool.
This CD will be available through that, and then I'm hoping at that point, it'll be perfect tie-in to announce the digital release and keep it rolling. Yeah.
So, are there any tracks on this you thought like maybe could have added some cowbell to?
I would have only put cowbell on it if there was a cowbell on the original one.
We're being from Wisconsin, we're big fans of the cowbell, so we always think that cowbell should be everywhere.
That's like
I thought it was just because since the what's his name skit with Saturday Night Live, everybody loves saying more cowbell now. And there's just what's crazy is I never got the joke. I'm just being honest. I never got the joke because I love Don't Fear the Reaper, and in the studio when they start going, he starts doing the cowbell in the skit. I was like, but as a kid, that cowbell is so low in the mix.
You can't. I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah,
until
it's like
I saw that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going. Is the joke on Blue Oyster Cult for mixing the cowbell too low, or is the joke that maybe everybody else understood as a cowbell? And I hear that little ding, ding, ding in the back in the original track. But to me, if you're going to rock out a cowbell and talk about more cowbell, you should be playing Mississippi Queen.
Yeah.
Give it up to Fort Blank because that is the number one. That is the most massive cowbell intro. Nobody's ever going to touch it because Leslie comes in with the insane riff. But the song is massive, but just the simplicity and the sound of that first cowbell, and then you wait for the drums to kick in, blapping, blapping. That's the top of the top for me. So I thought if they nothing against, I love Don't Fear the Reaper, man, but I'm just saying as far as cowbell, if you were going to do a skit that involves making a cowbell the focus of it, I would think that you'd be going Mississippi Queen,
Exactly. Hey, Brian, go ahead. No,
I'm just saying because it starts with the cowbell. It's like the whole thing. So you can make that's the joke right there. Is the guy's like he's already digging in the skit. He's already starting the whole band off with the cowbell. So that would be even funnier because he's the one, started. But anyways, okay.
I got to see you this summer with the Dead Daisies when you played with Kiss, and I just thought that band just killed. And I wanted to know how the Cuban tour went for you guys.
Well, cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was a great experience for me because Kiss was my first band as a kid. That was the first band I got into before anybody else. So just to be on their stage and be around that world was real nice. Because that my whole all my dreams and aspirations in the rock and roll world started with staring at Gene, Paul, Peter, and Ace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a lot of fun to do that. And we just got back from the Dead Daisies. Got back from Cuba Sunday night, and it was cool, man. It was a lot of people were really curious about it, and it couldn't have been nicer. I mean, when you go down there, like as a rock band, and you're playing a couple shows. I mean, everything's well organized, and you have a lot of people working with you down there. Everybody's knows what they're supposed to be doing, and we're not on vacation. We're there to rehearse and play a couple shows, and we visited with some music schools, and we just spent time on a schedule, so it wasn't like we had a lot of time to we didn't have a day off. We were there like 9 days. It was 9 days of work, but everything was cool. It was to me it wasn't so much different. I know politically and stuff there's more going on with what Cuba represents and stuff than just going to somewhere in South America, but for me personally, it was just like going on tour. You're going to another foreign country, and you're gonna. The main goal is to kick ass. I'm the drummer of the band, and I better kick ass when it's time to play drums. So that's my main goal. Everything else is secondary, and it always will be for me. especially when I'm on tour and stuff. That the first goal is no whining and no making excuses, and just make sure that when whether you're recording or playing or whatever your job is, that's got to be 100%. So I had a good time. It was fun.
All right, well, Brian, we appreciate your time today. Go out, everybody, and buy Randy Rhoads Remembered. We're going to play another cut off that. This one's called the one we've been talking about, Winding Roads. And Brian-Tichy, thank you so much for coming on Rock and Metal Revival.
Thanks for the bump up. Thanks for the interest, and hope to talk to you guys again soon.
To catch the whole show of Rock and Metal Revival, all you have to do is check it out on these affiliates. Mega Rock Radio's on Saturdays from 11 a.m. Eastern Time, on Rock 101 KLOL on Saturdays 11 p.m. Eastern, on Z-Rock 106.9 KKZR Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Uncontrolled Noise Tuesdays at 1 a.m., Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on uncontrollednoise.com. And make sure that you leave them a message and tell them that you found Rock and Metal Revival on their stations. Enjoy this edition of Rock and Metal Revival.